I'm Narelle Todd.
And I'm Essie Susan Smith.
We are the self-publishing author and marketing duo that has sold over 2 million books. But we didn't start out knowing how to sell books. Fast forward past many failed promotions and a lot of lessons learned, you will see how we went from self-publishing newbies to hitting the New York Times bestsellers list and making the USA Today bestsellers list 19 times and counting. We created the Get My Book Out There podcast to give you simple yet effective marketing strategies to increase readership and book sales so you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, as well as some tips for staying mentally and physically well.
Let's get started.
And we wanted to talk to you today about when copy happens. So copying, you discover that another author has written a book similar to you. You might even have the same title. And we're going to look at both sides. So what happens when you discover this? How do you respond? And what happens if you're the author and you discover that somebody has written a book that's similar to yours, has the same name, that sort of thing. And we're coming to you on this today because Susan has just experienced this, and we thought we should share the experience of this and how Susan handled it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, I swear there's always something that's happening. So no matter what, you better be ready for it.
So every so often in certain tropes, and this is happening at the moment in science fiction romance, there's this big thing about people copying other people's work, as in literally copying it. So, authors are like, I didn't do that. And people are coming to their defense, and there's this whole thing going on at the moment. And I'm pretty sure that this is what's kind of prompted this action. So what's happened is another author posted on Facebook saying, oh my gosh, I've just discovered that Essie Smith wrote this book, in 2017, and I didn't know about it. And we have the same book title, and it's the same premise or the same trope. And so, Susan, I'll hand over to you if you want to tell us a little bit more about what happened, how that author responded, because I thought she handled it beautifully, and then your response back.
All right. So what originally happened was another author who is a big fan of mine, loves my stories, posted on Facebook that another author who I don't know, that I haven't met, has actually written a book called The Dragon's Treasure. And the premise is it's got a dragon and it's got a thief in it. And so the author, I went to the post where they had posted all of this, and the author who had written this book, this other Dragon's Treasure, with the dragon and the thief, said that she realized that I had written this book back in 2017. I think I originally wrote the shorter version even before that. And then I was like, no, I got to expand this series. But I had written that book many years before she had written this one. And she's like, I never read her books. I don't know anything about her books because I haven't read them. I don't know what the story is. I swear I did not copy her. I just had no idea. This is the way it came out. And the way she wrote it and everything, it was very sweet. You could tell that she was somewhat mortified, but I went down the thread. There was others that said, oh yeah, I'm an author. I wrote this book and I wanted this title. So I searched the title. She says, I quit counting after 44 books that had the same title. And she says, this one fit my book. So I said, to heck with it. I'm using it anyway. It was a really good discussion, and not only between authors, other authors, but also readers. So, there was a lot of readers who have read my stuff, and they were, telling this author, oh my God, I love her books and this, that, and the other. And, what I got from it it was, this happened. She was open and transparent about it. And, the readers understand. And I guarantee you, if it had been a purposeful thing and her story was like identical, the readers would have pointed that out as well.
Yeah.
But the books are totally different. They may have the same premise, but they're totally different stories. And it's going to happen, because if you love this type of genre, you are probably one of those people that have the same kind of dreams, that have the same kind of thoughts about stories. So you're going to write similar things, but they're going to be in your voice. And, just because they have 2 elements, or 3 if you count the trope, doesn't mean that the stories are anything but in that same trope. And as far as I'm concerned, if they like her story, well, maybe they'll like mine too, because if they like that trope and they like these stories, well, there's two books for them to read instead of one.
Because it would be expected, dragons like to collect treasure. So, of course, a thief is going to be interested in taking some of that, relieving the dragon of the pressure of looking after all their treasure. So that would be, I think, a normal assumption to make in a story that that would happen. But as you say, it's then in the telling of the story,
yes,
if that's copied, then that's obviously not right. But the premise might be the same, but it's the actual story that's different. And these two stories are different. But as you say, you can't just judge a book just based either on the title, if the titles are the same premise, because, well, Dragon's Treasure and a thief, they go together. But when you go down then into the third layer with the story, they're different. So, yeah.
And I just thought it was, for me, I thought it was humorous. And, you could tell the mortification, that, oh my God, I don't want her to think this. And, with me automatically thinking, oh, that sounds like a great book. And definitely, I know that my thief, she isn't your typical, she really isn't a thief. And the only thing she wants is the dragon because she loves dragons, so I understand that, my premise is probably going to be much different than most, who would be maybe a real thief who is trying to break into this. Mine's just having a terrible time exercising and ends up in another world and a dragon's lair full of treasure. And all she has eyes for is the cute big dragon sleeping on the podium thing. So, when you look at it that way, you can bring that humor up. And you also want to alleviate that stress. You don't want this author, especially like you said, right now it seems to be cyclical, where we go through periods where, authors get upset because somebody's written a trope that sounds really close to what their book is. And so there's this panic that somebody's trying to steal their work. And understanding it's 99.9% of the time, it's just that's because we're all writing in the same field and we all have the same type of imagination, that's very creative. So again,
and it's good as the author who's being copied to respond back to that other author and just say, it's okay. It builds the connection, obviously, between you and the author. But if we want to look at it from a business perspective, it also gets you in front of her readers. And her readers in front of your readers too. So you do, each of you can benefit from this sort of things. It's not a negative thing. And I think it's appropriate to respond as well. And, in kind with some kind of, funny quip or, like it's okay. But just giving that reassurance to readers, because you find readers are really protective of their authors as well. Yeah. And so giving, you as the author turning up in that feed, giving the reassurance that readers need, and just letting the author know that it's okay. I think that's a human response that we should have.
And I actually went through and I did the emoji cons, saying that I cared, especially, and that I loved a lot of the comments that had been done. I gave her one of the big hugs with the heart. And, and then I posted, if you guys, the author had mentioned Pets in Space, that she had actually bought one of the Pets in Space anthologies. And so I put down in there, well, if you love Pets in Space, I've got a new song out that I had written for the current one that's going to be coming out. So for my sci-fi lovers and her sci-fi lovers, if they want something a little bit different, something that's going to make them smile, then here. And so it's kind of like adding a little gift on top, when you come over to a new author's like home warming, the home warming where you bring something and say, oh, welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah. So it's kind of like saying, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. SFR is like the best. And I honestly think that the romance community, especially the authors in it and the readers, are the absolute best, because they're all looking for the same thing. They're all looking for happy ever afters. They're all looking for having a good time, losing themselves in a great world. And so it's just sharing that love and saying, hey, everything's okay. I'm sorry my kid broke your window with his baseball.
Absolutely. So if you find yourself in a similar position, either as an author who, you've just discovered you've written a similar book to another author, or if you're the author who's had that similar book, connect. I think just, build that relationship, say hello, and just respond, in a human way.
Yeah.
And, I think let things go from there, because, tropes are tropes after all.
And like I said, you'll find another book in the genre that you love.
Yeah.
So that's the added bonus. Always look for the bonus.
Yes. You can never have too many dragon books. Rightio. Well, I hope this has been helpful. So if it ever happens to you, just respond in kind. And I think we can all get on with more reading.
Woohoo!
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've got way more information we want to share with you to increase your book sales. So please come and join me at facebook.com. Get my book out there.